each of you was dialed into everything they said because they offered so much. They came up here on a Saturday, they didn't have to, they put their hearts and souls out here for you in an effort to help you. And that is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of fear involved in public speaking. Public speaking is the #1 fear on earth. So for them to stand up here, and it's not something they do all the time, and to just rip their fucking chest open and show you their heart, that's an amazing thing. So I celebrate them, I worship them, you're all fucking amazing. I think one of the reasons Vanessa invited us all here, me included, I don't have 1 million followers. I don't have 2,000. I'm fucking 35 years old, I'm going bald, and I'm going to college. Like, what the fuck am I doing here, right? Vanessa has an idea of what I'm doing here, so I'm going to share some life experiences with you because I've kind of learned a lot about mindset, and that's what she asked me to really speak about. But everyone touched on mindset and shared their personal experiences, and they all did it in a beautiful way. So it's like we've all been going the same direction on these different paths throughout our lives, which I think is what existence really is. Everyone's going to fucking die at some point. We don't know when, we don't know how, but we're all moving forward, right? We all exist. And every day, every breath, every heartbeat is an opportunity. And I'll tell you how I got to this perspective, because it wasn't my whole life that I valued life in this way. Which, as you hear me talk about these things, you're like, how the fuck did you not value life, you dumb fuck? Like, pull your head out of your ass. And I apologize for the profanity, but this is who I am. And I'm kind of bothered. Earlier when I was thinking about how I do my speech, I was like, God, I hope there's not a bunch of faculty there. I'm going to be saying fudge and schniz and sound like a real fuckface, but here I am. So, for a little bit of background on me, I was a U.S. Army Airborne Ranger at one point in my life. All right, who knows what a U.S. Army Airborne Ranger is or does? Nobody, right? Have you ever seen Black Hawk Down? Yeah. No? Okay, some of you have, some of you haven't. So, an Army Ranger they're in the Special Operations community, right? So that's a big part of my story that I'm going to share with you. To become an Army Ranger, you have to go through a very brutal selection process, which I'll get into that in a little bit. But I wasn't the kind of person when I was growing up that anyone would have thought, this guy will do anything like this. I was short and round and chubby cheeks, had asthma, was never good at sports. I tried really hard. I was, oh God, nobody could try like me. Man, I could put in a heck of an effort, I'll tell you what. But I retired from sports when I was a sophomore in high school and really focused on not living up to my potential. Every progress report, every report card, not performing up to potential. Got a B, not performing up to potential. Have any of you ever had that on anything ever or heard that? We think you have so much potential. Like, hey, well, I really like video games and I'm fucking crushing it there, so who cares? So that was me in high school. It was mostly being in toxic relationships, not just where the young woman I was dating was toxic, but I was. I lied, I cheated, I did all that stuff in high school. I was, for lack of a better phrase, super shitty. And that's who I was, and I felt stuck. I felt stuck because of the people I surrounded myself with. I felt stuck because of the way I thought about myself, which all of them have touched on a little bit, the way we perceive ourselves. And here's my brother. I have an older brother. He's a year older. The dude is my hero. We're 15 months apart. When I was a year behind him, he enlisted in the Army right out of high school. So he had already signed up to go. I didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. So my brother goes and he becomes an Army Ranger. He's in 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia. I'm getting out of high school and I pretend to go to junior college. How many of you have ever pretended to go to junior college? Okay, so here's how I pretended to go to junior college. I enrolled, I registered for classes at FJC. I went for 2 weeks. I was like, no. I like sleep. I like hanging out with my friends. I like my job at the fucking Sports Time Pizza in Ontario. That's my jam. Whatever. I don't know what I want to do, so I'm not going. Here's the thing. I didn't tell my parents that I wasn't going anymore, because they were letting me live at the house for free. They're like, oh, can we see your report card? I'm like, yeah. So I get on the computer, make a little forgery, give it to them. They were very good at detecting bullshit, and that was a very serious conversation. So I wasn't the most ethical. I didn't have the strongest work ethic. I didn't have talent, whatever that might be. I was just kind of a floating turd. So as I start to view myself as this floating turd, I start to go deeper and deeper into depression. And that was something that ran in my family. My biological mom was a raging alcoholic, pill popper, and that's who I lived with for most of my life before moving in with my dad and my stepmom. So my brother's in the Army. He's going on deployment after deployment, right? So in the special operations community, at least with Rangers, every 6 months you go on a deployment for 3 months, or 90 to 120 days. But you're not just like doing little things. And this is back in the early 2000s. Y'all know we're still in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria a little bit. It's been 17 fucking years now. I have my whole thoughts on that. That's a whole nother presentation. It's just such a huge waste of time in life. But my brother is going to war. This is the only person that I've known my whole life that's been there for me. He's my hero. And here I am, just getting shit-faced drunk. Then I had advanced to selling golf clubs at what is now Dick's Sporting Goods, and just not doing anything, and hating myself and hating my life. And I wasn't the kind of person that would be courageous enough to make decisions on their own. I'd always be consulting all my friends, right? I gotta ask you that, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't, and it just weighed on me so heavily. And then one day I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So I went to the recruiter, the same recruiter that my brother had gone to. I was like, what do I gotta do to be an Army Ranger? He's like, oh, I remember your brother. Take this practice ASVAB, right? So ASVAB is a placement test, so you can determine what kind of job you can get in the Army. So I get a 96 out of 100. I could have done any job. She's like, oh, what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to be with Mike, U.S. Army, Airborne Ranger, Infantry. So for those of you that don't know, an infantryman, these are the dudes kicking in doors, shooting guns. You're on, like, you're there, right? She's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. I'm sick of seeing my brother go to war without me. This was back in 2004, where there was also talk of a draft, where you don't get to volunteer. You just randomly get selected. It's like, I don't want my friends to have to go. I love my friends. And I want to be by my brother's side. And when I called my brother, I was really excited. I was like, dude, I enlisted. I'm going to be a Ranger. And he's like, you should have signed up for the Air Force. The person I loved more than anything had absolutely zero faith that I was going to make it. Because there was no point in my life up to that point where I demonstrated what he already knew it was going to take. Because there's a selection process to get there. You're just whittling it down. There's a 75% attrition rate, which means 75% of the people that were attempting to be Rangers didn't make it. And they get kicked to another unit in the Army. So you wouldn't get kicked out of the Army, but you go to something like the 82nd Airborne or 101st Airborne or 10th Mountain, just some other units not in the Special Operations community. So I go to basic training, and somehow, well, let me backtrack one step. My brother said, if you are going to do this, keep your fucking mouth shut and be the gray man. Keep your head down, put in the work to the best of your ability. Don't ever ask for praise. If you ever get it, accept it humbly and just keep working. Do everything you need to do, everything that's asked of you. Just shut the fuck up. I had a habit of talking too much. It's obviously not noticeable. So I go through basic training. I was cool. I was very fortunate to be in a leadership position the whole time. And I was doing things I never thought I could do. I was running faster, doing more push-ups, more sit-ups, and I was encountering these situations that I never could have projected myself being in. Right? It was wild. It's almost 20 years ago now, which is a trip. So I get through basic training. And then you have to go through airborne school. So airborne school is a 3-week school that anyone in the military can go to. But in airborne school, you jump out of airplanes, which was great for me because I had a chronic fear of heights. So up to that point in my life, if I was on like the second story of a building looking over a balcony, I'm like, oh, fuck, I just pissed everywhere. All right? Like, that is how afraid of heights I was. So naturally, it makes sense that during jump week, so you go through 2 weeks of ground-based training, then you have jump week where you jump 5 total times. Before my Chalk's first jump, someone dies. There was a husband and wife that were going through airborne school together. I don't remember which one died, but in one of the Chalks that was jumping in the morning, someone's parachute cigarette rolled, which is where it deploys, but it just stays like this. And the canopy doesn't open and doesn't catch any air. So they fall to the ground at 33 feet per second from 1,000 feet. So you can understand that's tough to walk on, right? So we hear that right before we go. But airborne school, they're just churning it out. And we're jumping with the same parachutes that they were using in Vietnam, World War II. Static line. We're not, ooh, look at me cruise, right? We're just, I hope this opens. And if it doesn't, I hope I pull the reserve in time. Or else bad things happen, right? So my last name starts with a B, and it's followed by an A. We were very fortunate to go in alphabetical order. And there were no A names. So here I am, this C-130, this old piece of shit airplane. You got this light. You got a red light, and then a green light. Door opens when you're getting close to the drop zone. When you do, when you're the first guy, you stand there right at the door for like a minute. You just watch the ground and all the trees go under you. And I'm just like, oh my God. But to get to where I wanted to go, I had to jump. It was, I'm telling you, it was like this unbelievable amount of fear that I don't know how many of you have overcome something that's one of the greatest fears you've ever had. That was that first time in my life where I just fucking jumped. I landed, I make it through airborne school. Cool. On to the next thing, which was a 4-week selection process called the regimental indoctrination process at the time. So for the regimental indoctrination process, there's some standardized tests, some physical tests. There's, running, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups. There's a combat water survival test. There's shooting. There's all these tactics. Not to mention, you're just getting the shit hazed out of you the whole time. So think of the hardest workout you've done. Like, what's the longest, hardest workout you've ever done? 3 hours? 4? 5? 5 hours? Where you're like non-stop working out? Like non-stop, right? So, but no, like anything. It could be a little bit of anything. Like just a combination of stuff. Dancing 5 hours? Cool.
I did fun.
Oh, cool. Was it fun?
Yeah, shut in.
It was probably very difficult, right? So ours was slightly different than dancing. It was mostly getting told we're pieces of shit and that Ranger Battalion didn't need us and that we should quit and go into a different branch or like just get the fuck out because they didn't need us, right? The first day we got picked up from airborne school, before the selection process even starts, there's, I think, 120 of us. At the end of day 1, after 20 straight hours of just getting hazed brutally, getting, not force-fed, but here's all the food on your plate after 8 or 9 hours of getting crushed. Eat all this food and then we're going to crush you again. We went down from 120 to like 66 before the selection process even starts. It was the craziest experience. And it's not like a point where physically you can keep doing things. They need to see effort. Even if you hit total muscle failure, they need to see you go like, because they would just kick you. Lack of motivation, LOM drop, gone. So if you didn't give everything, and if it wasn't visible that you were giving everything that you had for the person to your left and the person to your right, you're fucking gone. So you can imagine how tight the bond is with the people that make it through this process, right? Because you know that the people that make it through this, they can go anywhere. They can block out any kind of physical pain, any kind of emotional pain to save your life, to save their life, to save that guy's life. That's what being a Ranger was all about. We ended up graduating with 25 people, 120 down to 25 during the time of day 1 getting picked up, when we all get shipped off to our different battalions. So I go to 1st Ranger Battalion, which is where my brother was, right? I'm there. It's like the greatest thing. I finally made it. My brother's proud of me. But when you get there, until you've gone on deployment, you're still getting hazed all the time. So you went through this thing, you get hazed all the time. Then you get to this place and you get hazed more and worse all the time until you go to war, right? So I go to war. That's what you do. When you do that, you see a lot of things that people will never have to see, which is good. I hope none of you ever have to experience it. I hope you never watch documentaries that are so brutal that you see what human beings do to each other for no fucking reason. Whatever the propaganda is on either side. The United States is not as morally justified in all these things. Please understand that. But people enlist for different walks of life to go so that other people don't have to. And I thought, I knew at 20 years old, this is my life. This is my fucking thing. I have defined myself. I am a ranger until I am dead. And I am not honorable unless I somehow die in the field of battle. That's what we were all about. We're modern day Spartans. We come back from the point. I earned an opportunity to go to a school called Ranger School. So there's Ranger Battalion, which is a unit, and then there's Ranger School, which is an Army leadership school, right? To get promoted, you have to go to this school. Everyone's like, you've got a legacy to live up to. You got to go. This is your thing. This is your thing. They're hating you the whole time. They're like, we know you got this. We know you got this. So I go. In the course of this process, we're on this crazy long road march, which is something we had done before, over and over. And I have a heat stroke. My heat stroke was so bad that I lost consciousness. I woke up in the hospital with ice sheets on me, IVs in both arms. I had no fucking clue what happened. I felt pretty shitty during this road march. I remember that. Seeing spots, all this stuff. But I wasn't the only one. I want to make it very clear, I'm not sharing all this with you to celebrate myself, but there are people all over the world that can just go, you know? And they're all around us, and I'm going to get to that. I have this heat stroke. Career over. I get spit back out into the real world. I get depressed. Fortunately, I was young enough, but old enough, to know that the best way to treat depression is with tons of alcohol. Tons and tons of alcohol. And I went to a very dark place for probably the first 5 years I was out. I worked at 24-Hour Fitness. I trained my clients. They all thought I was cool, but I fell back into those same bad habits that I had before I was a ranger. Right? Just drinking all the time. I'm going to where my clients love me. I was getting them to believe in themselves. I was pushing them to do things they had never done because I had seen what human potential is. The same potential that every single one of you has. Not just physical, but that ability to just suffer. The human capacity for suffering is one of the most incredible things on earth. You think back to thousands of years ago when human beings didn't have shit, and look where we are now. We don't know how to suffer anymore. Which is why people get so impatient. Which is why most people are just looking out for themselves the majority of the time. Why we're such a selfish culture. It's unfortunate. Because when we understand that we're all suffering in some way, shape, or form, we can bond together tighter. Now, whether or not we can see someone suffering on the outside, that's another thing. Which is why I'm going to continue to share this. And I apologize if it's dragging on too long, but I want to make sure you fucking feel this shit. I'm going to make sure that you take home something today. Or I'm going to do my best. So, as I continue to bury myself deeper and deeper in this depression, because I have this huge chip on my shoulder because I couldn't have my career anymore, I find CrossFit. I'm like, that's my fucking jam. Competitive. I'm going to go. I'm going to show people that I've got what it takes and I can do anything. That heat stroke didn't melt my heart, it only melted my brain. I'm cool. That's rock and roll. So, I get to this point where I'm just like, first big team competition. And I was all ego, because when you're a ranger, like to go do those things, you need to be all ego. To put yourself in the position where, like, you know, people are shooting at you and stuff, you have to believe almost that you're invincible. If you're, you know, brainwashed correctly, right? So that's where I'm at. Like, if I'm not dead, I keep going. That's it. That's the rule of the game. I did not have, like, anything in between. I did not have an off switch. So I have this big competition. Amanda was there, she was competing. We didn't know each other at the time. Vanessa was on a different team. But we're there, big competition, hundreds of people, and I'm like, I will fucking show everybody! Right? I need validation. So, what happens? 2 minutes into the first workout, which is a 14-minute workout, split my forehead open with a barbell. And not like, oh, I split my forehead open. No, this is gushing blood. And this is in front of a couple hundred people at least. And it's bleeding everywhere. And I remember my teammate Matt comes around the side and he's like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll keep going. So I just keep going. I'm doing muscle ups from the rings and blood's like, bah! Everywhere. Oh, it's fucking disgusting. So some people are like, yeah! Other people are like, what the fuck? This is the craziest shit I've ever seen. It was so stupid. But I finished the workout, got my head taped up. We had 3 more events. After that first event, I'm like, yeah! Dude, I feel pretty good. Like, this is really weird. I feel like I think I got this. And then 5 minutes later, all the adrenaline wears off, the concussion and blood loss starts to set in. I'm like, oh, I don't think I feel pretty shitty. And then it gets to the point I can't walk, so my friend Alex has to drive me to the hospital. As Alex is driving me to the emergency room, I am just vomiting out of the car. Like, I was fucked up, right? I get to the ER, I can't stand up. I'm getting pushed in a wheelchair. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die. Like, I'm gonna fucking die. And I get in and they loosen up the bandage. They're like, oh, bandage is too tight. I'm like, oh, tight. And I had lost a lot of blood. And I'm like, oh shit. Well, now I think I can go compete again. So I frantically said, somebody come pick me up. Like, it was not healthy psychologically. But this is the way I was covering up. This is the way I was covering up all my insecurity. This is the way I was burying my pain. Like, I didn't know how else to cope with this stuff, right? I hadn't sought out knowledge. I hadn't sought out people to help because he had done what I had done. I felt entitled. I felt entitled to be shitty because I had suffered so much more than they did, right? Like, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like. You've never been to war. You've never been through the selection process. You've never done blah, 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 blah. So I thought I was up here. And fucking people don't give a shit. Thank you for your service doesn't mean dick. The majority of the time, people will say thank you for your service. And it's a very kind gesture, and I appreciate it. If you say it, fantastic, keep saying it. The universe does not give a fuck about people. Not just veterans, but people. And we are all very special. I want to make that very clear. We are all infinitely special with infinite potential. But the universe has existed for 14 billion years. There's 7 billion different people on Earth that want 7 billion different things. We are simultaneously the most significant and least significant beings on the planet, which is beautiful when you marry yourself to this, right? So this gave me an opportunity to reflect. This is the forehead splitting open. I didn't know it yet. I go home, my house is the party house, right? All my friends are over, everyone's drinking. I just get back from the ER, and I'm like in a very dark, like still in like the every once in a while contemplate killing myself headspace, right? They didn't know that. I didn't talk to my friends about that shit. Who needs help, right? So I get there, and one of my friends is telling this story. And he's telling the story about what happened, and he's not talking shit about me. He's just telling my friends that weren't there. And I'm like, look, you motherfucker, you can't do that. I fucking lost it on him, telling him he's a piece of shit, going on. Like, you don't have anything. How dare you? And I'm like, lost it on him. Go to my room, slam my door, because I was like a 4-year-old. I had the life experience of a pseudo-adult man, but I was acting like a child because I didn't know how to manage my emotions. I didn't know how to reflect and step outside myself. I didn't care how my actions or words impacted other people. And I'd sit in that room, and I'm like, I fucking hate myself. I hate myself again. How did I get here? I wake up the next morning, and I start to really reflect on life, right? I'm going to backtrack a little. So this bracelet that I have on, this is someone I served with that died in Afghanistan in 2009, right? How did I not appreciate life after hearing about Rob's death when I got a phone call at a party in 2009? How did I not appreciate life when in the same IED blast that killed Rob, put another friend in a coma, took the leg from another friend, people that I had served with, people that I had worked with? How did I not appreciate every day and get to that point? How did I not realize all these things that I was doing, the way they were impacting other people? And looking back and thinking about how much dishonor it brought to not only myself, but my friends. People that actually lost their lives. So I woke up the day after that competition, I reflected on that in a big way. Like, wrote about it, all this stuff, and I was like, I don't have to be this person anymore. I wanted to set my intention. You hear that phrase, mindset, mindset, mindset. Set your motherfucking mind to where you want it to go. Understand that you're going to make mistakes. It's going to wiggle to the left, it's going to wiggle to the right, up, down, all around, whatever. I set my intention. Be a better man today than you were yesterday. 1% better every day. That's it. That's all I can do. And it's this super brutal process, right? Growing pains. Just like when you're a little kid, like, oh, my legs hurt. I'm getting taller. Right? It's the same thing when you set your mind. You're going to fall down. You need to get back up. This will always happen. I'll share one more example of how this kind of mindset that I learned after being such a dumb shit for so long helped. Well, let me backtrack. How many of you have been a meme on the internet that people ridicule like to an absurd degree? Cool. All right. So a few of us have experience being memes. So after I had that forehead split open, I woke up the next day. I'm like, changed my life. Cool. Thousands of people on the internet just like, this guy's an idiot. Da, 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 da. But they don't know that behind that is this dude suffering from depression, thinking about killing himself. Right? They don't know. They don't care. That's one of the dangers of social media. But it's not social media. This is human nature. I think Tyler said it when he was speaking earlier. This is just what human beings do. It's just another platform for human beings to be fake to your face and talk crazy amounts of shit behind your back. Or they're really kind to your face and it's genuine, but you don't know. Human beings are just going to be human beings because none of us know what we're doing. The vast majority of us do not appreciate life, the opportunity we have each day to live it and make the best of it, not just for ourselves, but for others. How do we not get that? How are we so slow to learn? And it took all these events for me to get to that point. And then once I learned, I got to share this. I got to share it with people. I open a gym. I'm just telling people, I believe in you, I believe in you, I believe in you. Let me push you, let me help you, let me push you, let me help you. That's it. All I want is for people to believe in themselves and infinite human potential and value their lives. Because I know what it's like to lose someone. My dad's almost died like 3 times. All these things. There's challenges every day. Everyone's got something going on. When I had my last gym, my former business partner ended up, let's say, not informing me that he was going to withdraw all the money from the bank account until we had nothing. So it was a pretty cool embezzlement story that lasted about a year. And I'm living this in front of people all the time, right? Living. Very challenging experience. And I don't think one time did I say, this sucks. I don't think I ever said I can't do it. I got a 2 hour, if I'm stuck in traffic for 2 hours, it doesn't suck. I'm fucking alive. Your life doesn't fucking suck. You're fucking born. There's a 1 in 486 quadrillion chance that you were born. If you can write out 486 quadrillion right now, I'll give you $100 fucking dollars because I never seen a motherfucking number that big. You got 10 seconds to do it. All right, but this is what I'm saying. The fact that we exist is an opportunity. We're all going to experience challenges. We don't know what challenges other people are experiencing at any point in time. You don't need to. It'll probably help you, help me, it's helped them, it's helped a bunch of people. We need to commit to being the best version of ourselves as much as possible, helping people as much as possible, loving ourselves as much as possible. Because every fucking second you're alive is 1 second closer to your death. And it doesn't matter that you're not going to work, because my fucking wife was walking across the street a few years ago before we met, she got hit by a fucking truck.
I'm okay.
And she didn't die, but I'll tell you what, one of the things that brought us together is she values life, because you never know when it's going to end. And you might like to think that you do, but you don't. And one thing that helped me, I started thinking about what someone would say at my funeral if I died today. What would someone say? If you got hit by a car today, what are your friends going to say about you? when they're reading your eulogy? What?
I said I had a great sociology class.
Okay, how'd it feel?
It was really impressive writing that. It was like, oh my god.
Well, here's the thing. Death is a part of life. It's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
It is nothing to be afraid of. I'm not saying go head to head with a semi-truck right now. But what I am saying is that if you accept that it will happen, you will value every day way more than you do right now. So maybe you have other places you'd rather be on a Saturday. And maybe this is mandatory. But if you paid attention to anything that any of them had to say, you're going to walk out of here knowing more than you would. And I feel so bad for you if you did not pay attention. Because it is rare that a group of people your age in your position get to hear awesome people like them speak and share openly and honestly like they did today. What a fucking luxury this is for you. I wish when I was your age, I had a coach that gave a fuck about me, like Coach Vanessa gives a fuck about you. To ask the people to come help you. For someone like Tyler, for someone like Katie, for Jasmine and Amanda, for them to come out here and take time out of their day and commit to helping you because they know by sharing their experiences, they can help you. We need each other to live better. The world is not an ugly place, but it does have some ugly parts. And if you want it to be a beautiful place and you want to be fucking happy, you better put in the work and understand their definition of dirty work and 100% effort is a lot different than mine. And I fucking hold people to my standard because that's experiences I have. And I want to push you and I want to help you and I want to help everybody. That's my penance. That's what I need to give back to the world for the rest of my life for wasting the first 28 years. But I guess I needed those mistakes so I could stand here before you today and make an effort to help you avoid the same mistakes I made. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the shit out of everyone that spoke. I love y'all. Just fucking keep putting out good energy the rest of your lives. If you have any questions, I will answer them and do my best to not say fuck anyone. No promises.
Wait, so you were kicked out of the army because of the heat?
So, yeah, good question. So the question was basically if the heat stroke is why I got kicked out of the Army. So since I had signed up for my contract was 11 Bravo Infantry, I was no longer deployable after the heat stroke because it gets really hot in Iraq and Afghanistan. So if you go down on a mission in Ranger Battalion, I think it's kind of standard operating procedure amongst most infantry units, you are not going to get left behind. But what happens if I go down because it's hot and my brain melts, everyone else is compromised, especially for the type of missions that Army Rangers do, which is like very time-sensitive stuff. You know, you're going out every day, every night, every day, every night. It's different than you'll ever see in any movie or any documentary. There's human beings all over the world putting themselves in danger. And we live here in California, and we're like, oh, fuck traffic, huh? It's all relative to our life experience. It's all relative to our life experience. So I don't say that to be condescending, but we got to understand, like, I wasted so much of my time complaining. You're gonna find whatever you look for in life. If you're looking for shit to complain about, you're gonna fucking find it. I don't like the way my shirt was tucked in earlier. I could have said, oh, my angle up there. Right? Like, you look for stuff to complain about, you're gonna find it. You look for excuses, you're gonna find it. You look for ways to overcome challenges. You look for ways to stay motivated. You look to surround yourself with people that are going to lift you up. You're going to find that shit. The sooner you learn that it's not the quantity of people you surround yourselves with, it's the quality of people and it's the quality of life. I don't have $1 million. I sold and donated all my possessions so I could travel through Europe out of a fucking backpack for a few months, having no idea where I would go or what I would do afterwards. But I knew I had to do it before I was dead. And I'm not going to make the mistake that so many of my clients have made where they're 65 years old, or shit, even 45 years old, and they're like, oh, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that, I wish I could have seen this, but now I got to wait for my kids to be 27 because they're never going to leave home because cost of living just keeps going up at a rate that's exponentially faster than the median income. What I'm saying is, hey, you want to do something with your life. You don't have to wait. And you're going to make some choices and you're going to take risks. And there's going to be a million things that you cannot predict that will happen. There's too many variables to calculate. Your circle of influence is about this big. You got your thoughts, and control over thoughts is kind of like, You control your words, and for the most part, you control your reaction to situations, and you can influence others. But you don't have control. The sooner you understand that the world is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and there's 7 billion people that want 7 billion different things, the easier it's going to be to just go, I didn't get my way. On to the next thing. That's just life. But yes, heat stroke. Yeah.
So, a part of your story sort of shot out to me because it resonates with me, clearly not the Tunnel Ranger part, right? The CrossFit pushing, where you ended up in the ER for hitting your head, and the part that triggered me was the part where you decided that you wanted to go back to the competition after, and I think that's such a very, very relatable feeling. I was telling you, I was like, hashtag CrossFit. When it happened, when you said that, I said to you, you go, is that how CrossFitters are? And I said, it's pretty indicative of someone who's addicted to CrossFit, who, it's not just CrossFit, but fitness in general, where they use it as a crutch for their mental illness or their mental health issues or their trauma. And it sounds like that's what you were doing, to correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, 100%.
Right. And it's what I was doing. So I got into CrossFit, and it got so bad that I was training 4 hours a day, split in 2 sessions. But 4 hours a day, and my immune system was so compromised. I was getting, infections, and I was sick constantly. I was starting to lose my hair, because I was so malnourished, not because I wasn't eating, but because I was training too hard. And as a coach, I find that's very common in the CrossFit and in just the fitness world in general. So my question is, how did you, or did you, 2 parts, how did you get out of that mindset of using it as a crutch to where you were, it sounds like you were someone who was trying to hit it like rabbit, right? Like someone who would just work themselves to the bone.
Oh yeah, I got there too.
Right. And so, A, how did you get out of that headspace, or did you? And if you didn't, that's totally cool too. And then B, how do you recognize that in your clients, your members, and how do you address that?
Those are excellent questions. So yes, I did get out of it, and one of the ways I got out of it is to understand life is so much bigger than fitness. And one of the things with group fitness or anything that you do when you're around people, human beings are tribal by nature, right? We can't help it. We want to be accepted by our cliques, right? The cliques that we're in, we can't help it, especially if we're not aware of it, right? And one of the things that happens in CrossFit gyms or powerlifting gyms or Olympic weightlifting gyms or Orange Theories or Zumbas is people will push themselves beyond what they know they should, even with injury, because they don't want people to think less of them, right? Because perhaps they have yet to develop that point where they value themselves, where a big point is, I'm good enough, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. So I had to get to that spot where I was good enough, and not only that, the realization that exercise ceases to be healthy if it's negatively impacting your mental health or negatively impacting relationships with others. There's nothing fitness about ruining your headspace, and there's nothing fitness about ruining your body, and it's unfortunate that a lot of the ways it was, especially getting marketed back in 2012, and especially the way I marketed myself was train till you die, but all that kind of stuff, that's something that was, I could not turn off that Ranger switch for me. It wasn't so much like, I don't want people at CrossFit to think I'm a wuss. It was more like, if there was a team event for anything, I just couldn't let people down. So it took me understanding there's a gray area. It's not black and white. There's so much more to it. So it took getting to that point, learning a lot of, I dove deep into philosophy, psychology, sociology, just because I like books and wanted to learn a lot more about how to help other people avoid the mistakes that I made. And with my clients, they're versions of us without the knowledge, and we want to share that knowledge with them. And one of the things I started to make an effort to make clear to my clients early on, after many mistakes I made over time, is, hey, I want you to know if there's an injury, you need to let me know so I can work around it, right? Programming is not written in stone. Percentages aren't written in stone. If it negatively impacts your health, I'm not doing my job and I need you to communicate. And I think society as a whole, we suffer from this lack of intention when it comes to communication. We don't always speak openly and honestly. And a lot of times we expect people to know what we mean when we don't say what we mean, because we don't make the time or apply the effort to construct a sentence or a phrase or a paragraph that is in line with what we mean and deliver that with someone in the middle of how they'll understand it. And it takes time and effort and energy to learn about communication in that way, but having those open and honest conversations like, look, ultimately I care about your happiness as a person more than I care about your numbers. Not that I don't care about your numbers, because we have goals and we want to get there. But you gotta live life. And fitness is supposed to supplement and support that life and improve its quality.
Right.
Does that answer all your questions?
Yeah, I think
Cool.
mostly I just wanted to know if you'd even gotten out of that.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah.
hard.
I think it probably took me until 2016 to really just go like, this is it.
I can add to that.
She's
I
seen
think
it.
the first time, so I think more